All right. We're in chapter 10, verse 11 of 1 Corinthians. And let's start with verse 11. Did you have any questions about anything we covered last semester? Anybody? Before we start. Okay. All right. Chris, can you start on this? Can you read here and start?
Yes, I'd like to. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 11. So all these things happened tata de panta tupoi sun e beinon ikainos graphe de pros nu thesion hemon ace us ta tele ton aionon kate natason. I have now all these things happen as examples, and they are written for our admonition or warnings upon whom the end of the ages has come.
Okay, now all these things, the things he's just been talking about, and so they notice this is imperfect tense here. And so they were happening. So it's a panoramic view, see, unto them by way of types. This is from tupos. It's plural, of course. So it's by way of examples or types. A type is a pattern for something. So someone can become an example for someone else. I remember in school, they used to use a paddle on kids if they got in trouble, and they'd paddle you. And part of it was to be an example to the other students. So not to do what you had done. And right here, this is an example here as a type. Tupos or tupoi nominative plural. This is examples. It should be plural because it's plural here. Now, you remember we take all of the text, have all the textual apparatus, I put them in it as well for your consideration. And so we're using it. And then not only did it happen by way of an example, but then it was recorded or written down for other people's examples to admonish us. And he's talking here, admonish us for our admonition. This would be the church. So the things that happened back then, 1,000 years before, some of them, more than 1,000 years, had been recorded for the use of the church. So this gives us a pattern for how we can use the Old Testament. We see principles in the Old Testament. Now the ends is the consummation of the ages, the ends of the ages. I think it probably is referring to the approaching end of the Mosaic dispensation, which legally ended at the cross, but it continued unlawfully for about 40 more years. And it died at AD 70 when all their records are destroyed and they can't even prove who's a priest now. Now, people can tell you that they're priests, but they can't prove it. Any comments? All right. I translated this. Now, all these things happen unto them for examples. Notice I made it plural. And so I put it in the footnote, types, Greek types, plural, tupoi. And they were written for our admonition. For them, the ends of the ages are come. Pretty much what Chris, how he translated it. Any questions? So we can go to the Old Testament now, and as we learn principles in the Old Testament. Now, there are principles that have always been true. It's always been a sin to lie, to murder, to steal, and so forth. Under the patriarchal dispensation, it was a sin. Under the Mosaic dispensation, it was a sin, and under the Christian dispensation, it's a sin. So we see the things that they did and the ways that God showed his displeasure, and we know that if we do the same things they did, that he's going to be displeased with us. Any questions? All right, verse 12. Jerry, could you do that for us?
Okay. Hoste ho docon est nai blepeto me